Travel is always a challenge, but right now the American-Israeli war with Iran has added a whole new layer of turbulence and uncertainty, especially for those who plan to fly. Airlines around the globe are raising prices, adding fees, and cutting flights. Planning your trip takes extra care because of travel scams fueled by artificial intelligence. It's also becoming more difficult to get the lowest prices for airfare, hotel rooms, and rental cars without choosing a non-refundable rate that requires an advance purchase. So, how do you deal with all this? That's what our annual travel show is all about. I'm Herb Weisbaum, the Consumer Man, a contributing editor at checkbook.org.
Welcome to Consumerpedia at checkbook.org. We're the nonprofit that helps consumers select services, avoid trouble, and save money. Because we don't accept any advertising or take money from any business we recommend, you can rely on checkbook.org to be completely independent and objective. Now, here's the host of Consumerpedia, America's consumer expert, the Consumer Man, Herb Weisbaum.
In this episode, we're going to dive into the unique challenges facing travelers right now, possibly for the rest of the year due to the war with Iran, and how to deal with them. Also, why finding the best deal without opting for a non-refundable option is getting harder to find. Plus, common travel scams that can ruin your trip and result in identity theft. Here to talk about that, a good friend of the show, a man who not only writes about travel, but he never stays in one place for too long. Syndicated columnist Christopher Elliott. Hi, Chris. Where in the world are you this time?
Hello, Herb. I am in Sydney, Australia.
Wow. Where were you before that?
Melbourne, and before that in Queenstown, New Zealand.
And where are you headed next?
Vanuatu in the South Pacific.
Wow. What does in Vanuatu?
It's a beautiful island, and they invented bungee jumping there.
And is Chris going to do that?
I don't think so. I'll let my sons do it, maybe.
Well, if you do, you might want to have a couple of columns written ahead just in case,
Yeah, absolutely.
So anyone who plans to fly somewhere this year, whether for business or pleasure, is facing a lot of headwinds because of the conflict in the Middle East, which has reduced the global supply of oil. Airlines are boosting fares, adding fees, and reducing flights to deal with the shortage of jet fuel. Delta's cutting some flights from busy hubs such as JFK, Boston, and Detroit for 3 months. Air Canada announces temporarily suspending flights from Montreal and Toronto to JFK until the fall. So, Chris, it sounds like it's a real mess for people who are going to fly.
It is a mess. Yeah, when the war broke out, jet fuel prices doubled in roughly a week, which just threw the entire airline industry into crisis. What we're looking at now is these summer flights. A lot of people book their summer vacations that have been rescheduled or canceled, and it is starting to have these ripple effects where people are either having to rebook right now, rethink their vacations, or are afraid that maybe that might happen to them.
The schedule changes are especially dramatic in Europe. For example, just a few weeks ago, German airline Lufthansa announced that it's eliminating 20,000 European short-haul flights over the summer. 20,000, saying fuel prices have made many journeys unprofitable. No question this is going to be a difficult year to travel to Europe.
Without a doubt, yeah. And what's going to happen is that a lot of those people who would have otherwise flown are going to be taking the trains, which is probably for the better. But still, that 20,000 is not a small amount, and there are other airlines that have cut back, even more. If you're talking about a Middle East carrier, some of them are barely flying still, and that really is going to affect everything. So the question really is, what is that going to do to your summer vacation? If you're headed to Europe now, you're going to have to either work with your travel advisor to see, work on maybe a plan B to see if this is going to affect you. If you've planned it yourself, then you really have to keep an eye on the news because airlines are actively cutting back their flights, and you may find yourself standing at an airport this summer without anywhere to go.
And the trains over there are great, but they're going to be packed, so if that's the way you're going to go, you better make your train reservation right away.
Yeah, a lot of the trains, you can just buy a ticket and get on the train, especially in Western Europe where there's just a lot more people. But fair point. I think that this is more of an issue if you are flying into Europe and maybe your flight is going to be delayed, canceled because of the ongoing situation in Iran. You may want to really start thinking about a plan B, which is either this might not be the summer to go to Europe, or if you do go somewhere where there are always flights operating, for example, some of the more popular destinations like London, Paris, Rome. You're not going to have those issues, but some of the lesser traveled to destinations for summer tourism, they may see some cutbacks, and that could present a problem.
Sounds like this may be the year to make sure you purchase travel insurance?
Yeah, you would think so. Unfortunately, travel insurance does not cover wars or war-related cancellations, so you might not be covered. The safer bet is either cancel for any reason insurance, so you would be covered and you get anywhere from 50 to 75% of your prepaid and non-refundable expenses back. Or you could make a reservation, buy a ticket essentially that is fully refundable. And that way, if your flight doesn't leave, then you can go to plan B and use this fully refundable ticket on an alternate carrier. The only thing to do in that case would be you would have to remember to cancel your plan B ticket.
And despite reassurances from the Trump administration that prices will go down quickly once some sort of peace deal is signed, realistically, that's unlikely to happen. United Airlines CEO Scott Kirby told NBC News, even if this ends, there's going to be a long time to get back to normal. You agree?
Well, imagine you're running an airline, Herb, and all the prices are going up and people are still buying tickets. The crisis ends. Do you lower your fares? No, of course not. Of course not. You're in it to make money. And so if people are going to pay the higher fares, you're not going to lower your fares. You're going to keep them at those high levels. The point I'm making is that just because oil prices are lower, and eventually they will come down a little bit, does not necessarily mean that airfares go down. Airfares are set by people. If you're willing to pay a higher ticket price, then those ticket prices will be high. If people are not willing to pay them, then they will come down. It doesn't matter if oil is cheap or expensive. Ultimately, the price of a ticket is set by consumers.
Which brings me to a recent column you wrote headlined, "Your Airline is Lying About Fuel Surcharges." What makes you say that?
The reason that I'm saying that they're lying is that many of these airlines, these are European carriers, have hedged their fuel. And what that means is that they've prepaid for their fuel based on a rate that existed before the Iran crisis. That means that they're paying less for fuel. What they're doing really is they're kind of using this excuse that fuel prices are higher for some people, but not for them, to raise these carrier-imposed fees, better known as fuel surcharges, and they're getting away with it. We're letting them get away with it.
So we see on the news that fuel prices are up, but some of these carriers already negotiate a lower price, so there's no reason for them to increase the fares, but they're doing it anyway because we don't know that.
Well, exactly. They're saying, oh, look, everyone expects the prices to be higher because fuel is more expensive. So let's raise our fuel surcharges or carrier-imposed fees. And the thing is that, again, once those fees go up, they don't go back down again. They are going to stay high even when oil prices come down.
So what's your advice, unless we change our travel plans and decide to see America by car this year or something? Is it to book early if a flight is involved or hotels in a foreign country are involved?
Absolutely, you want to book in advance. So if you're going to Europe or Asia this summer, make sure that you book as soon as possible. You'll probably get a lower fare. And if you absolutely have to be at a destination at a certain time, let's say you have a hotel reservation, you might want to consider a backup plane ticket. So you get the one cheap fare and then maybe you get the more expensive, fully refundable ticket as a backup just in case your first flight doesn't leave or gets canceled. Travel insurance is a good idea too. Again, cancel for any reason. Insurance is probably something that I would consider. It's a little bit more expensive. It's usually about 10 to 12% of the cost of all of your prepaid and non-refundable expenses. But it can be worth it if you really want that peace of mind. You want to be able to cancel your trip for any reason, not just for one of the covered reasons that are in a garden variety travel insurance policy.
Travel scams are a serious and growing problem. Fraudsters are using fake search engine results and phony call centers to steal your money and your personal information. It's something every traveler needs to know about. And we're going to talk to Chris about that next to learn about the threats and how you can protect yourself. I'm Herb Weisbaum, the Consumer Man, and you're listening to Consumerpedia, powered by checkbook.org.
At checkbook.org, we have the answers to your consumer questions 24/7. That's checkbook.org. We're a unique nonprofit that can help you with select local service providers, avoid trouble, and save money. Because we don't accept any advertising or take money from any business we recommend, you can rely on Checkbook to be completely independent and objective. Our advice is always free. Ratings of local services are available with a subscription. If you live in one of these 7 metro areas and haven't joined Checkbook yet, check us out. Boston, Chicago, Philadelphia, Seattle, San Francisco, Minneapolis, St. Paul, and Washington, D.C. Get your free 30-day subscription by going to checkbook.org/Consumerpedia.
So travel scams are something everyone needs to look out for when they book reservations or find themselves needing help during their trip. Fraudsters are ready to pounce if you're not extremely careful. So Chris, let's run through some common scams. Here's one I want everybody to know about: bogus search results that lead you to bogus customer service agents. Explain how this works.
Yeah, you're stuck at the airport, your flight is canceled or delayed, and you say, I really want to talk to someone at this airline, let's say British Airways. So you go to your search engine and you type in how to get through to a person at British Airways. Scammers have figured out that that's what people are typing in. So they've built a page that shows up first in the search engines for how to get through to a person at British Airways. You call their bogus 800 number and you say, I need to get rebooked to my final destination. What's the fastest way? And they go, no problem. Just give us your credit card number and we will take care of it. And you end up with a really expensive ticket or a charge on your credit card for a ticket that may or may not exist. And these scams have been preying on people for years now. I mean, this is something that was going on 3 or 4 years ago. And believe it or not, it's getting worse.
Because we rely on those search engine results and they don't do anything to block these things, they come up before the legitimate airline or hotel or car rental service.
Well, as you know, I run a nonprofit organization called Elliott Advocacy, and we publish the full, complete phone numbers, email addresses, names of the people who do customer service on our site. For us, it's a struggle too. Our service is totally free and it's 100% legitimate, but we have scammers who try to get fake phone numbers listed on our site. And we have ways that we can ferret that out. The easiest one is just to call the phone number and say, are you an airline? And you can usually tell pretty easily. If they pick up on the first ring, it's a scam because no airline picks up on the first ring.
Oh, I love that. I love that. It's wonderful. So if you're stuck in a travel situation and you want to know where to call and make sure it's a legitimate number, go to elliott.org and you can go there and you can find all the numbers of the places you want to contact. Great service. Thanks, Chris.
Sure. No problem. This was my act of vigilante journalism years and years ago, because the airlines and a lot of other companies wouldn't publish the names of their managers. So when you said you had a problem with a company and you were on the phone with someone and you asked if there's a supervisor that you could talk to, they would say, no, there's no one you could talk to. We went out there and we found the names and the phone numbers and published them and the email addresses, most importantly. And we just have kept doing it.
You know, we talk a lot on this show about questioning offers that arrive via text message or social media, and that advice goes for any contact that's a travel offer or supposedly from your airline, your rental car, or your hotel, offering too good to be true deals or something that's a problem with your trip. Tell us about that, Chris.
Oh, yeah. Wow. You covered a lot of ground with that question, Herb. First of all, if you get an offer from anyone by text message, you should be very suspicious of it. I would not heed any discount sent to me by text message. Most of the stories I get start with, I got a text message from this company and I thought it was legit and I clicked on it and then I ended up losing lots of money. So just be very careful. The other thing is, you mentioned if it looks too good to be true, that scenario. And what I would say is if something does look too good to be true, if you're getting like 50, 60, 70% off the regular rate, it's a scam. Just ignore it. Don't even bother following the link. It's gotten a lot worse where scammers have been able to get into some of these systems. There have been some pretty well-known data breaches at large online travel agencies. They get in, get the reservation data, and they will contact you during your trip or before your trip and say, there's a problem with your reservation. We need to fix it. Just buy these gift cards and send them to us and we'll get it all taken care of. That's a scam too.
So if you get a text message like that, use your app or contact the airline and find out what's really going on. Don't click on a link or don't do anything the text message says.
Always contact the company directly through the published phone number or through the website. Don't follow a link. If you follow a link, that exposes you to a lot of danger.
You recently wrote a column warning about credit card cloning making a comeback, especially in Europe, and this figure blew me away. You report that 2 out of 3 credit card holders say they've experienced fraud or cloning. I thought chip cards was going to take care of all that.
Yeah, I thought so too. This happened to us when we were in Paris. We lived there a couple of months ago, and my son had used his credit card to buy, he loves going to convenience stores and buying drinks, especially when it's really warm outside. And he used his credit card and then ended up getting these legitimate looking charges to the card, for some of the museums in Paris. And if you didn't know any better, you would say, oh, this looks absolutely fine. But it ended up being someone who had cloning his card. And the way that they did it was very clever, is you go to a card reader. Usually you can use tap to pay. But they said, oh, our tap to pay is out of order. You need to actually slide the card in. Once you slide the card in, they're able to actually fully copy the card and then use it for their own purposes. Easiest way of avoiding that is never, ever slide your card into the reader. Always use tap to pay. If they say that the card reader is not working, then probably the reader is compromised and you should not use it. So these cards can be cloned. They're not completely safe. They can be cloned. And look, it happened to me when I was in Fiji. They got my card. I was in a grocery store and I was trying to pay for my groceries and they said the card reader is not working. So I slid the card into the reader and next thing I know, there are 3 or 4 charges that I didn't recognize. And they actually, the interesting thing is that the scammers are very clever. They won't just make a small charge here and there spaced out over time. They'll actually query your card to get a pre-authorization. So that won't show up on your card. So they're testing to see if the card will work, the clone card will work. And once they think that it does, they'll start making major purchases on it. So really, the other piece of advice that I came away with from working on the story was always monitor every purchase on your card. And the way to do that is you contact your bank and you say, I want to get a text message every time there's a charge on my card. And for redundancy, I also want to get an email.
And that's real easy to set up. You just go to security protocol. I already have that in place with my cards, and you absolutely do know. Or if there's any transaction done at an ATM, you can find out right away. Good advice. 2 more questions about this. Number 1, a lot of people buy those sleeves, those RFID blocking sleeves that prevent someone from getting close and cloning the information on the cards, mag stripe. Does that work? Is that really necessary anymore?
Yeah, no, I talked to experts. They say not really necessary. That was for the previous generation of cards. The new chip and pin cards, really, if you want to clone them, you need to slide the card and get a good copy that way. And people have been doing that, apparently. But the RFID sleeves are just kind of like a false sense of security almost.
And what about digital wallets? Is that the way to go when you travel?
Absolutely. If you use Apple Pay or Google, that's one way of doing it. Those can't be cloned.
So you want the lowest prices for that rental car, hotel room, or airplane ticket? Well, you better be willing to pay up front and book a non-refundable rate. We're going to talk to Chris about that next. I'm Herb Weisbaum, the Consumer Man. This is Consumerpedia, powered by checkbook.org.
Consumerpedia Fast Facts. The country with the most commercial airports is the United States. With about a third of the world's airports, we have more airports than the next several countries combined. The longest commercial flight in the world is currently Singapore's air flight from Singapore to JFK Airport in New York. The 9,500-mile flight takes about 18 to 19 hours, depending on the winds. The shortest commercial flight in the world is the Logan Air route between 2 Scottish islands, Westray and Papa Westray, a distance of only 1.7 miles. The typical flying time for the 8-seat propeller plane is 1 to 2 minutes. The record is 53 seconds. The fastest train in the world is the Shanghai Maglev, which reaches speeds of 268 miles per hour, covering nearly 9 miles in just 8 minutes.
Whether it's an airplane ticket, hotel room, or rental car, if you want to get the lowest price, you probably need to book a non-refundable rate. The company gets your money up front, and if for some reason you need to cancel, well, you're out of luck. Chris, in a recent column you said, travel is more non-refundable than ever, and you shared ways to get around it. First, the why. I assume it's a way for companies just to make more money.
Yeah, it used to be just that airline tickets were mostly non-refundable. If you were a leisure traveler, the kind of ticket that you would buy would be either almost non-refundable or completely non-refundable. You could, cancel and get a credit maybe. But lately, it's also been hotels and car rental companies. They see what the airlines have done. They love it. They want more of it. And so they are making their hotel rooms non-refundable. In the hotel industry parlance, it's prepaid. So that's the red flag if you see the word prepaid. And also car rental companies are doing that. So now it's quite possible to book your whole summer vacation and have every single element of it be fully non-refundable.
In which case, you better have travel insurance.
Or you better know that you're going to be there for whatever, for the flight or for the hotel. And that's the thing, is that travel is unpredictable. You don't know if you're going to make it to your vacation rental. There might be a hurricane. And that's why people do consider travel insurance. And that adds to the expense, of course.
Is there any indication, have you seen any statistics as about how many people may be doing this and then losing their money? Any indication of how much money the companies are making based on this non-refundable thing?
It's really hard to know how many people are losing their vacations as a result of this. But if you ask me, it's too many people, because I hear about them all the time. I hear from them at my nonprofit consumer advocacy organization. They're trying to recover some or all of their vacation, and it's really heartbreaking.
I simply won't do it. If $10 a night off the room or $15 off the rental car is going to make me potentially lose all that money, it's just not worth it, because then I have the hassle if there's a problem, or it would force me to buy travel insurance when I'm going to Orlando or Dallas or New York or whatever, when I normally wouldn't buy it. I just don't deal with them. That's how I handle it.
Well, you make a really valid point, which is that sometimes the cost between a refundable and a non-refundable ticket or hotel room is only $10, $20. You have to ask yourself, is it worth the savings? What if something happens and I can't make it to the hotel, or I can't pick up my rental car? I'm going to lose the whole car. A lot of people will overestimate how predictable they're going to be. They say, yeah, I'm definitely going to be here. I'm definitely going to be taking that flight, but you never know what's going to happen. This summer, especially with how unpredictable things are, you can't count on anything.
Are there any workarounds, any suggestions you have if people want to get the lowest price and don't want to get the non-refundable, or is there a way of working around these non-refundable fees?
If you're working with a good travel advisor, they probably can guide you and send you to the right company to work with. They know, for example, which hotels could bend a rule. And actually, the travel agent advice is really good, because an agent sometimes will have a relationship with a large hotel chain, even an airline. And so if you run into a problem where you couldn't make it to your vacation, or maybe you're a day late, they can negotiate a credit or a refund for you.
Several years ago when you were on the show, we spoke about saving money by traveling off-season, something my wife and I usually do. For us, it's not all that much about the price. It's all about avoiding the crowds. But you found that off-season travel is disappearing. What's happening?
Right. Yeah. Well, what's happening is that people like you and me have been giving this advice for years, and now everyone is taking our advice. To a certain extent, that's true. Also, a lot of destinations have started marketing themselves as destinations you can visit during the off season. I'm thinking about like the Colorado Rockies, where mud season used to be a time when no one wanted to be there. And now they're marketing it as a place where you can go have a real adventure, and it's not hot like in the summertime, but and you can go mountain biking and whatever else. A lot of destinations have been doing that, but unfortunately, that really has eliminated a lot of the possibilities for us deal seekers to find a place to take a vacation where you're not spending a lot of money. Definitely, the seasonality affects the prices. So yeah, you can still do that, but the point of the column was that it's becoming less easy to do.
So as we record this, people are making their travel plans for the summer and maybe the fall. Summarize a little bit of your advice as to how we deal with all the chaos right now, the higher costs, the uncertainty, etc. Just bring it all home for us, if you would.
This is the most unpredictable summer travel season since 2020, since the pandemic. We just don't know what's going to happen. We're in the middle of a war. It could take a turn for the worse. It could blow over. We just don't know. That's affecting fuel prices and the cost of travel. If you can lock in a rate now, do it, because prices are probably just going to go up. Consider travel insurance and take nothing for granted.
So we're just about out of time, but there's so much more to talk about. Would you be willing to join us for the next episode?
Of course.
Good. So in episode 109, we're going to run down the increasing number of gotchas that travelers need to look out for, and dive into some controversial new technologies such as AI checking for rental car damage and hotel sensors that claim you were smoking in the room when you weren't, resulting in huge fees. Chris, before we go, please tell people how they can find you on the web.
You can find me at elliott.org. That's ELLIOTT.org. It's the Elliott Report. I also do a newsletter called Elliott Confidential. It's elliottconfidential.com.
Chris Elliott, a man on the move. I always look forward to talking to you. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next episode.
You bet.
Here are a few more travel-related Consumerpedia episodes you might want to check out. Number 106, avoid a vacation rental nightmare. Number 89, avoid a hotel horror show. And number 41, Hotel Intel, finding the best rates. Well, that's it for now. We hope you'll rate this episode. It's really helpful. And follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Remember, we release new episodes every other Thursday. Another way you can support this show is to follow us at Consumerpedia on Facebook and Instagram, at Consumerpedia.org on Blue Sky, and at My Consumerpedia on X. You can find me at consumerman.com. I'm Herb Weisbaum, always looking out for you. Until next time, be smart and shop wisely.
Consumerpedia is a public service of checkbook.org. We're a unique nonprofit that helps you save money and make smarter choices. You can count on Checkbook to help you find the best services and avoid the worst, with local ratings that are accurate and unbiased. If you live in or around these 7 cities and haven't joined Checkbook yet, check us out. Boston, Chicago, Philadelphia, Minneapolis-St. Paul, Seattle, San Francisco, and Washington, D.C. To get your free 30-day subscription, go to checkbook.org/Consumerpedia. Consumerpedia, empowering consumers to save money and make smarter choices.